When I tell you I fell for the marketing, I fell hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, it's gritty. Uh, looter shooter, man. It's not gonna be a live service. It's gonna have full content. It's so many fucking fire ass JRPGs from that area. Avoid this one. Like if you can avoid one, make sure it's this one. Play Trails of, not Tales of. I don't care if it's Trails in the Sky, Trails of Zero, Trails of Cold Steel, whatever.
If you all recall how Sonic looked in the movie, the first original Sonic, his design,
Man.
that's basically the physical embodiment of Sonic 06.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap Podcast. We back once again with the crew. I want y'all to just give me a minute to introduce my incredible co-hosts. We've got the Collector of Collectors and the Master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
Nothing much, y'all. Actually, I just kind of woke up from a short nap. So that's why I look a little disheveled, if you will. But today, went to go see Suzume no Tojimari in theaters. And really good movie. I like it. So I liked it a lot. Very beautiful, too. My God. I couldn't help but stare at the scenery as much as I was watching the movie. Like, it was crazy good. I enjoyed that. So I had me a nice long day out today. Got me some more snacks and whatnot. Got insomnia cookies. I ain't had that in a minute. So, yeah.
Man, you just gave me a college flashback bringing up
Man,
insomnia
what?
cookies, bro.
I used to love insomnia.
I used to love them expensive ass cookies. Next up, we got the Black Daredevil and the secret weapon of No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's up, Terrence?
Yo, I'm actually gonna see Suzume tomorrow, so we'll have to. Hopefully, it'll live up to the hype because I've been hearing really good things about it. So I'm looking forward to it. But other than that, everything it's all good. So yeah, ready to talk about the topic tonight.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I at first had no idea what Suzume was. I legit had to look it up while Will was talking about it because I've seen it mentioned multiple times today, like in other Discords that I'm in and whatnot. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, and finally I was like, all right, I should probably figure this out. I'm not big on anime movies, y'all. If y'all don't know it, I'm not big on anime movies. It's the new Makoto Shinkai project. I was like, oh, okay, now I got it. So
the person behind Weathering with You and Your Name, for those who don't know.
Right. Yeah. I'm assuming like some relationship shit, little mysticism up in there somewhere, maybe. I don't know. I do like hearing the hype behind it now. I guess I'll go check it out, just see what it's about. Next up, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's good, Rakeem?
Hey, man, everything's good. Everything is lovely, as my old neighbor when I was a kid used to say. And I'm happy to be here for another day of No Level Cap. Even though this is a podcast today, we're going to talk about some disappointing things. I will say I am looking forward to talking about those disappointments.
Next up, we got One Punch Man and the Master of Combos, Mr. Devin Butts. What's good, Devin?
I'm good, man. No combos this week. I'm still waiting on Leon to hopefully come to our Marvel 3. But in the meantime, maybe watch some anime. Been absolutely loving Marshall and Hell's Paradise. Probably once we finish the podcast, I'll watch episode 3. Loving those right now. Been playing some Magic work. That's pretty much it. As Rakeem just said, this is a topic that there's one game of my choice that y'all know that I'm super ready to talk about. So let's get into this.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But let me, before we, talk about the topic, lastly, I'm Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. If you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We appear on YouTube for video fans. If you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. I want y'all to go check us out. Give us a follow on TikTok. Give us a follow before the government bans the Clock app. I don't know how well that's going to turn out. Like, it's looking embarrassing for Congress. So, they might skate under. Well, it's already banned in Montana, I heard.
Yeah, it is very true.
States' rights. Whatever. So let's get into it. Everybody, topic's been kind of spoiled. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. We talking about disappointing games. The Master Combos himself proposed this topic, and I thought this is genius. I think everybody at some point in a gaming career you play games long enough, you're gonna run into some games that disappoint you. As soon as you start getting to the point where you can look at a trailer and be like, man, I can't wait to play that. I'm sure that's gonna be fire. As soon as you get to that point, you're destined to eventually get to the point where you pick up a game and you like, this ain't what I thought it was gonna be. Why did they do this to me? You know, sometimes it's deflating. Sometimes it's just like, okay, this game, I thought it was gonna be fire. It's just mid. Gotham Knights. Sometimes it's you thought it was gonna be fire and it's cool in a different way, but it's not what you wanted it to be. And then sometimes you play it and you like, bro, this is gutter fucking trash. I don't know why'd you make it. I don't know what happened, what led to this foolishness. I wasted my money. That's the worst feeling of it. Or actually, the worst feeling of it is I wasted my time. Like, that's the shit that really breaks you. So, since this is technically your topic, Devin, and I know you got a game that you want to talk about, why don't you go ahead and cover the first round? Like, why don't you go ahead and kick off the first round for us? What's your first most disappointing game?
Well, I had a list. I had like maybe 5 games that I was gonna try to choose from, and 2 of them were like definite gonna be on the list. The other 3 were kind of a toss up. I had to think about it, and if I had to start out with one, I think the one that disappointed me was Star Ocean 4. I'm a big fan of Star Ocean 3. And I love that game. It was a little slow at the beginning, but I stayed with it, got me into it. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. So when we come to the PS3, I'm like, they got Star Ocean 4. I'm like, okay, this next gen. Man, I played all of 30 minutes of that game and was like, yep. Let me hit the eject button. Take the disc. Boop, and put it back to never play it again. I don't know, man. It didn't quite hit like 3 did. It was just something about it that just wasn't quite the same. And I know I've heard other people have the same sentiment about Star Ocean 4. Maybe I should just give it a chance. Because I will say Star Ocean 3, when I first played it, that beginning is really like the pacing of it is really slow. It's a lot of like talking. There's like this weird thing in Star Ocean 3 where they like having dialogue and they just like stop. It's like, hey Rakeem, what's your favorite spot to go eat at? Man, I really like to go to this spot. It's really delicious. What about you? I like McDonald's.
I remember when X-Play made fun of that back in the day.
Yeah,
I remember that
vividly. I thought it was just a glitch. But I stuck with it, and that resort, when you start at the resort, it was a slow burn, but you get past that, and it's a great RPG. But man, I was so hyped for Star Ocean 4, but it just didn't hit the same, man. And the combat was a little changed from the 3rd game. It didn't quite hit the same. It's almost like the characters to me just want. I don't know, man. I was just like, man, this ain't it, man. This ain't it. So if I had to, and I remember like, I was really happy to buy this. I went to GameStop and got it. Like, yeah, and I finally got it. Went home, and like I said, 30 minutes later, I never played it again. So that would have to be my first one I'm starting off with, man. Star Ocean 4, man. I just hate when RPG disappoint me. That's like, that kind of hurts a little more because I'm just like, that's my favorite genre. And when I get one, especially that I was anticipating, it just fails. I'm just like, well, all right, on to the next one, I guess.
So I mean, Star Ocean 4 is not on my list, even though Star Ocean is one of my favorite franchises. I started with Star Ocean 2. I remember pestering the shit out of my mom to pick that game up when I was like 10 or whatever, 12. I had to be 12 because I was like, oh man, I gotta play this game. And I love Star Ocean 2, love Star Ocean 3. And I remember getting Star Ocean 4 and 13, Final Fantasy 13 at the same time. And man, they both was disappointments. So it was just like a waste of time. But I mean, like, I think I definitely put in way more time than Devin, but it just didn't leave enough of an impression on me. And just like in general, the PS3 era for JRPGs was kind of ass. So like, I really don't stand by most of the RPGs from that era. So I just kind of give them a pass. No Excuse for 5, which I didn't play. That's why I hadn't mentioned that. And 6, they say is I. So, it is what it is. Terrence, what's your first game on the list?
So I guess I'll say that you both of you kind of hinted at this earlier, is that when we talk about disappointments, that doesn't mean like the game is just garbage, like totally bad.
Right.
It just means it didn't live up to the expectations that you had for it, which could mean it's just mid, or it's aight, or it's good, but there was just some things that let you down about it. And the game that I'm going to mention kind of falls into, it's good, but it just still let me down in a lot of respects with the way that they went about it. And it's going to be the Shadow of the Colossus remake. And the reason why I consider that a disappointment is they essentially took the original game, they remade it, and it looks amazing. Like, in terms of graphically, I can't say anything about that game. It looks astounding. But in terms of everything else, they pretty much brought what the controls, the camera, and everything from the PS2, they brought it along to the remake. It's almost a way too fateful remake. You know how when they talk about adaptations and how something is like fateful or not? In this case, it's way too fateful. Like, they should have updated the controls. They should have updated the camera. They should have added more Colossus. What's the plural there? Is it Colossi? Yeah, they should have added more Colossi. It's just weird to have, because they had the remaster, which came out on PS3, and that game is great because it essentially is the version of Shadow of the Colossus that we all really wanted on the PS2. I mean, the PS2 version is good, but let's be honest, technically it couldn't run in the way that they envisioned it back then. But they could finally make it run the way that they did on PS3 in terms of it being, at 60 frames and all that good stuff, or it not like lagging in any way. Yeah. But is it at 60 or is it 30? I'm trying to think. I don't know if it's at 60 or 30.
I don't either, but I was like, if you're looking to keep a cinematic feel to a game, 30 is where you would want it to be.
It's probably 30. It's probably not 60 now that I think about it. But I know the PS2 version had lag to it, so like it would drop frames and everything. 30? Okay. That sounds about right. Okay. Yeah, but the PS2, even though the frame rate was 30 back then, it would still drop frames, and it just couldn't keep up. Like the scope of the game, the PS2 just couldn't keep up with it. It is what it is. And when they remastered the game, it finally essentially gave us the version that the vision of the PS2 version without the flaws of it. And then when they decide to remake it, do it again for the PS4, it's like, that's great. I don't know who was really asking for a remake of Shadow of the Colossus. It's like, it's regarded as one of the greatest games of all time, and it definitely sparked the whole conversation about, games as art. But I don't know if it necessarily needed a remake, especially in the way that they did it. Like I said, it was just too faithful. That's the thing. It's not a bad game. Right. It's just that they took a lot of the things that were on the PS2 version and just poured them right over to the PS4 version and just made it prettier. And that's pretty much it. And that's why I consider it a disappointment, just because there's so much more I feel like they could have done with it, but they just chose not to. And, that happens when the conversation about remakes come up. Do you keep it like 1-to-1 with the original, or do you do your own thing? I know that now, for whatever reason, there's some pushback that I've been seeing online for like Resident Evil 4 remake, where some are saying like, oh, there's some things that, are different from the original that they should have done, and yada, yada, yada. So, this isn't even just a Shadow of the Colossus specific conversation, but just in my opinion, I think that they stayed too faithful to the original, and they could have done more. It's like, if you already did a remaster of the game, why not, with the remake, add more Colossi, add more features, and just do more with it? I feel like it was a missed opportunity, because even on the PS2 version, there was talk about whether there was like hidden Colossi that you could fight and whatnot. And I just feel like they could have easily have done that with a remake, but it is what it is. So that's my first disappointment.
Okay. That was like, it sounded like you kind of wanted a director's cut in some ways, but in other ways you just wanted like updated controls, which makes a lot of sense. It would be like if Resident Evil kept its controls from like back in the day. It'd be like, hey man, this not it. Yeah. But like I seem to recall there being cut content from that Shadow of Colossus, like the PS2 version, and they were interviewed about it and asked like, hey, you gonna put that cut content back in? And they were explicitly like, no, we're not. And I'm like, oh well, that's kind of disappointing. Like, even though it's somebody who didn't play it, I'm like, but
you
know,
have the capability now. You have the technology.
Yeah.
It's like, why not do it?
Like, take that extra time and add that content in. Like, give this game some additional value. And I believe the PS4 version kind of went for like, I think 40. I don't think it went for the full 60.
I can't remember what it was
about
like at
right.
launch.
Yeah, I think it went for 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, if you had added some cut content and you had updated the controls, you could have got away with charging 60, and it would have been a more complete. And I mean, like, the price is gonna drop anyway. It's not a fucking Nintendo game, so like, it would have been worth the value. But like, instead, it does suck that it sounds like you just didn't get like a full. The goal of a remake should always be to make you feel like you felt when you played it the first time.
Yeah.
Not to just like remind you like, oh, that's what this was like, and it's not as cool as I remember it. Like, it shouldn't do that. That's the opposite of the goal.
Yeah, for me, it's like I have fond memories of the remaster. Like, I love the remaster of Shadow of the Colossus, and when I played the remake and it had like the same controls and everything, it's like, well, I could just go play the remaster. I
mean, but it's prettier now. You know, it's different,
I guess.
Will, what's your first game?
So for this subject, I actually went and did my homework and actually scanned through libraries of like games just to remember something I might have had that just didn't sit right with me. But then I remember, so I ended up remembering, oh, there is this one game I had. It's made by a small developer, and then I got it for sale. It was like super cheap. It's on the PS Vita, and I was like, I wanted to try it out because I'm like, it's an interesting take of an RPG. So I'm like, let me give it a shot. And the name of that game is called Mind Zero. It's developed by Acquire and Zero Dev. And for those of y'all that aren't familiar with the name Acquire, they are a company that do a lot of RPGs, but they also they're kind of hit and miss, really, if I had to say so myself. Like, a good chunk of their library is solid games, and then some of it is like, eh. And I ended up getting one of the ones. And for some that don't know, Acquire also kind of co-developed both Octopath Traveler games with Square. So, yeah. But so this game here, Mind Zero, is essentially Persona Lite. I kid you not. Like, I bought it because it was on sale. It was like maybe $2 on the Vita. I know that probably should have been my first sign because it's usually a $20 base game, but it was like maybe $2 or $3, and I was like, I can spend that, and because I want to try it anyway because it looked interesting. It's a first-person dungeon crawler, but it didn't sit well with me because somewhere along the line, I just got bored. I'm like, this game ain't hitting like it should, or at least it's not doing something that I know small companies usually do, where they kind of get a little creative with things. This game right here just got repetitive. It just fell out of pocket. I just didn't like it. It didn't sit well. Like, it took me 3 dungeons before I was like, you know what? Maybe this ain't for me to keep playing. I'm gonna have to just put this down because, like, I think I even seen like a review for this game that was like, look, this is a game you can put in your library until you want to go back and play Persona 4 Golden. And I'm just like, wow, that's quite a stab in the neck to the company, telling them, look, you got a game on the system, but there's a better one. Do better.
Hey man, sometimes it's sometimes you put out a game that's like a clone of another game, and it's just not as good.
Yeah, it just wasn't, man. Like I said, it was a first-person dungeon crawler. Like, literally, it's first person. You go through. I'm like, and I'm gonna tell you about another one later on. I got another one, and it kind of hits the same mark, but a little differently. But yeah, Mind Zero, not really worth it. It's even on PC, but it's just not worth that type of time. It's not something I would tell people to just go and run and pick up. It's not that good of a game, really.
Damn,
it's
just wasn't even worth $2.
Trust me. Look. If I had to pay the full 20 at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be a little bit more mad about it. But because I didn't pay that much for it, I can't be extremely mad about it. So,
okay,
it's just not a game I'd say go get.
All right, look. Before Rakeem goes, I don't know if this is gonna be on his list or not. It's on mine because I've seen him play this game, so he may be over it. I'm not over it.
No, I'm not. I know exactly what I'm about to say. It's coming up later.
Look, man. I remember when this game was first showed off at E3 2013.
Yeah,
it was this big new IP from Bungie and Activision.
Oh,
Took a significant chunk of the show, and it was supposed to. And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was never no Halo guy, but Destiny, it looked all right. I was like, okay, I might be able to get with this, even though it was first person, and by now you should know I despise first person. It hit a lot of the notes that I was looking for. It was supposed to be this sci-fi, almost kind of science fantasy kind of game with RPG elements and shit. And even though the initial reveal showed you on Earth in old Russia, they made it seem like it'd be more to it in the game, and in like with the trailer, like especially towards the end of the trailer, they made it seem like the game was gonna be this expansive RPG. You'd explore the solar system. And then I got the game, and it was 4 fucking planets: Earth, the moon, which ain't even a planet, Venus, and Mars. And I was like, all right. And I remember I was chilling on the game, kind of taking my time, and I really hadn't made up my mind how I felt about the game. And then I got a message to play it, online. Like my boy Mario was like, "Hey man, come through. We can play the game." And we blew through the last map in like all of an hour and a half. And I was like, in the credits rolled, I say, "That's it." I said, "Bro, it can't be it." I say, "Ain't no way that's it." Like, I ain't spent but like 12 hours playing this game. I was expecting this big epic RPG. That was kind of how they sold it. I'm like, 12 hours. Like, what you talking about? And, I'm looking online. People like, "Oh, that's how it's supposed to be. It's got plenty of content if you rerun it." Why the fuck I'm trying to rerun 4 planets? Like, that ain't shit. I was so hurt. And like, when you really think about it, honestly, Destiny kind of ruined a lot of games. They had that Bungie magic going for them. Like, because Destiny really, like, even for all its flaws, Destiny is a super polished experience with great gunplay. It was just lacking in content. But it launched in 2014 when there wasn't a ton of games on PS4. Gaming really only had like one hot season. Like back then, it ain't like now where like a hot game can drop at any moment, any part of the year. Back in 2014, it was really just the fall. The fall was when all the hot games dropped, and that was it. And I mean, you can see now in later games that did that kind of Destiny-ish, we gonna add content over time type deal. You can see that later on where they have a handful of stages and then just assume that because it's multiplayer, people will rerun it. That's what happened to Avengers. That's what happened to a lot of games. Like like any game where it just started out with like not much content, and then they just drip feed you content to like eventually make it a full game. They got it off Destiny. It's some Soulja Boy shit. They copied my whole flow word for word, bar for bar. They just copied Destiny. That's all they did. And little did I know in the background, and I would like come to find this shit out later as I did research, they scrapped the whole fucking story of Destiny. Like they took it all, threw it in the trash, and left us with what you got in vanilla Destiny, which was not much of shit. And they added to it later, and let my homeboys Rob and Mario tell it. They fixed it. With House of Wolves and Taken King, they fixed it, added all the story in that you was looking for. It's too late. It was too late. I was already mad. I was pissed. I spent $60 on a game, and I'm playing in first person. I hate first person, but I was going to tolerate it because I was like, I'm going to get this epic RPG. You ain't give me that shit. So I took that shit back 2 weeks after I got it, traded it in, and got Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. And I know if you're a Destiny fan, Destiny 2 is a vastly better experience, but I was just so annoyed that they burned me, and I just never really got over it. And that, to me, and that also began the process the cycle of the disappointing space game. Destiny, No Man's Sky, Beyond Good and Evil 2. That shit ain't even out, which is part of the disappointment. There's other disappointing aspects. Star Citizen, all that shit. That's where all that shit came from. But I mean, like, yeah, that's definitely mine. I just couldn't. Like, I'm sorry. Rakeem, what's your first game on the list, bro?
So since you brought it up, it was on my list. I'm just gonna piggyback off of you.
Let's go.
For some of this, and I'm gonna pick off a little bit off of Destiny. I'm gonna go to a different game. Just to piggyback off what you said, my issues with vanilla Destiny. So for the audience to know, I am currently playing Destiny 2 and really enjoy playing it. Have some of my friends, as Sage brought up earlier, are avid Destiny players. My best friend Rob, Destiny is his favorite game. Period. Definitely. He plays it almost every day or every week at some point. And he talks about the flaws it has. It is not a perfect game. I've noticed that. But my issue with vanilla Destiny 1 on launch, first thing, it didn't match the marketing. The marketing for this game made you feel like it was going to be an immersive MMO-like experience, not an MMO-light experience, which is kind of what started the games as a service thing. It was like MMO elements lightly. You kind of get a world, but it's not a sprawling world. You kind of get, dungeons, but they're not as intricate. It had a lot of those issues. You kind of get a narrative, but it's very piecemeal. And that was like the first big red flag was like, this isn't a great experience compared to what I thought it would be. I've been playing this game with my friend Tim Bush, a good friend of ours, friend of the podcast as well. He and I literally went, hey, man, let's go just run the planets. Let's go exploring. We went through them levels, and I was like, man, ain't nothing to explore. I mean, ain't nothing. We went through a cave. Like, it's cool. Like, we did patrols. Like, it just wasn't deep. It wasn't a deep game experience like playing, like me and my brother played Divinity Original Sin 2. I will keep bringing that game up till I die. Whereas like so much stuff was going on, so much stuff happened in the background, so many side quests were going on. That was the first red flag. The second red flag is actually playing the game. The shooting, the guns, great. The powers, cool. The level design, the level and mission design, The mission design was the same mission every time.
Yep.
Get your ghost. He looks something up. Protect your ghost.
Yep.
Horde defense mode. Over and over and over and over and over again. Reuse assets with the bosses. Reuse assets with enemies. Very, very uninteresting. Not doing anything to move the wheel. Nothing we haven't seen before. And it was inexcusable. And it's crazy now playing Destiny 2 how much better they are. They still do some of this stuff. I still do some of the Horde stuff, but they're so much better at creating interesting level design, boss design. They're like lauded for their raids and boss design now. You kind of like, I remember playing a dungeon in Destiny the other day. It had so many different mechanics. I was like, whoa, this is completely different from how I remember Destiny when I first played it. So like, but at release, it wasn't there. And that's kind of inexcusable to have such a bare bones experience with the exploration and bare bones experience with the story, narrative, what if you call it a narrative? I mean, it was barely making sense to begin with.
Nope.
The biggest.
Don't
What's
forget
up,
the traveling in your ship that you customized. That was just a loading screen.
Oh well, yeah. The ship they still have that problem. The ship customization is just. I mean, you just get. It doesn't do anything.
I didn't play Destiny 1 until I got the collection when it came out. Like literally, like probably a month or two before Destiny 2 got announced. Like the preview they showed of it. And I was like, oh, I can get to, travel in my little ship. I was like, wait, it's the loading screen? What? All right.
But yeah, that was a big red flag. And then the last one for me was that the final boss was a complete and utter letdown. It was like, you got to the final boss, it was just an enemy you had fought before.
Yep.
And then the game just ended and the narrative was just so weak and empty. I had similar experience to what Sage had. It's completely let down. I remember talking with you and Tyler and Tim, and we all were so disappointed at the same time. And that's an experience like where the grinding element of Destiny came in, when you got your better equipment and you ran through the strikes and the night falls, and eventually the raids came out after launch. I had no desire to do any of that stuff because I was so disappointed in the narrative. How can you want me to grind on something and you didn't put the effort forthwith to give me a good experience off the jump? Screw that. Sorry. So yeah, that was why my issue with Destiny. But I'll bring up one right quick because I was just piggybacking off of Sage. For me, the Twisted Metal reboot on PlayStation 3, I don't know what they were doing. It's like they took all the individuality out of it by making this kind of clan system where you have people who were in certain clans. You had different cars. They took out the local multiplayer, which I was like, no. Like, I grew up on Twisted Metal. Me and my cousins played the dog crap out of all the Twisted Metals. 1, 2, 3, 4 black. We played them. Even a little kid one time. We played all that. We were Twisted Metal fans. When they announced that reboot, I was so freaking excited. When it didn't have no local multiplayer, the narrative, they took out the system where it felt kind of... So for the audience who haven't played Twisted Metal before, it's a car combat game that kind of has a versus edge to it, almost like fighting games where each car and driver have a personality and identity. Like you have Thumper, this big Cadillac that shoots flames out of it. You have Mr. Grimm with his motorcycle, and he's got like this undead, almost Ghost Rider thing going on. You got Warhol, this dead zombie military guy in a tank. And they had identity with their vehicle, identity with their special move, identity with their rider, and a narrative for each individual car. So they even had their own arcade ladder. When you went up and did the story with them, they had an ending, and it dealt into the story of Twisted Metal with like these people want to get granted wish by this thing called Calypso, this dude called Calypso, and he would grant their wish, and they would always screw with the wish to make them like die or something bad would happen to them. That was what Twisted Metal was. You get screwed over by Calypso in the end. And then they came to the reboot, and it's like that spirit. They took out that element of it and became this clan war type thing, and that kind of killed my motivation for it immediately. Like it was that feeling of like this just isn't what I grew up with. Then I didn't have local multiplayer, and when you don't have local multiplayer, and I grew up playing local multiplayer, I'm gonna be really mad. Like online's cool, but if you don't have local multiplayer, I don't care. I'm sorry. I did not enjoy that Twisted Metal reboot. I don't have a lot of fun memories of it. I really wanted to like it. Maybe one day we'll get another one, but yeah, that was a really big disappointment for me.
You did get another one, Keem. You got Destruction All Stars.
Nah.
Played a little bit of that. No comment.
Did they charge full price for that for the PS3 Twisted Metal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it was a new game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a new game. It was completely a new game.
Because I remember the complaints that you're talking about, and I think it was very bare bones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't have the content. When they took out the element of it having different cars with different riders and they had different abilities, it was like you chose a different car that was in a specific clan, and the clans belonged to like Sweet Tooth had a clan and this person had a clan, and you switch between them. I didn't like that at all. Period. Like, man, sorry.
You might get a new Twisted Metal game since they make it a Twisted Metal show. So it's potential. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. I would definitely try to make I wouldn't necessarily force those to coincide, but like it does make sense, especially if the Twisted Metal show is a hit. I mean, like I would be like, all right, well, we got to get a Twisted Metal game out at some point. And I will probably say,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, that era was a very weird era for racing games. Like the PS3 era, it feels like racing games were like they weren't as fun as what they were during like the PS2 Xbox era. It's like the Burnout Paradise wasn't as good as like Takedown and like the new Need for Speed. They didn't live up to like Most Wanted and Underground. So yeah, it was just
the most fun I had with a racer on PS3 was like Mod Nation Racers. And that was because I
forgot about that.
Yeah, that was great. Awesome. My nation was fire because I had customization. I could make the little man look like whoever I wanted him to look like or whatever I had in my head. Download customizations and all that. It was really fun.
I tell you, the game that actually really took Twisted Metal's place at the time was a Full Auto racing game by Sega. That really was kind of the game that was like,
I remember
Twisted
that.
Metal is what it is.
I do remember that game.
Okay.
Round 2. Terrence, what's up? What you got for me?
All right. Now it's time to move into a fighting game because, I had to. This game had so much potential, and it's a shame that its failure led to essentially the cancellation of a game the game that gets rumored every single year is like, yeah, it might come back. It's like, that game's not coming back. Put it to rest. It's dead.
It already came out. It came out.
Yeah. It came out in a
when they put Akuma in there. You know what?
Yeah, it came out in a sense, but not in the way that people wanted it to.
Yeah.
The game I'm talking about obviously is Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yep.
So here's the thing. I don't think Street Fighter Cross Tekken is a bad game. I actually think that there's a lot that Street Fighter Cross Tekken actually did right. In terms of features, the game was actually fully featured when it came out. I mean, of course, outside of your online modes and your standard arcade stuff, it had a party mode where you could play with multiple people. Devin knows what I'm talking about because there was that one night where we were all, this was back in college, where we were all together playing the game together and playing it with party mode, like what you could do like 2v2. That it just
play everybody on the screen at the same time.
Yeah, everyone on the screen at the same time. It was so goofy. It was just fun. Yeah, so you had the party mode, you had a color editor, which still to this day it feels like so weird that no mainline fighting game really gives you a color editor option. Granted, the colors, a lot of the colors that they gave you in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, they were ugly as sin, like the neon colors, but at least the option was there to, you know, have your characters or your team decked out in similar colors, which is really cool. And there was just a lot of other stuff that was in the game that were nice features at the time. But of course, you know, you have the whole DLC debacle, which is ultimately the biggest controversy with the game, is that it had on-disc DLC, which is, you know, kind of funny. Look, what's up?
Would that matter now? Like, if
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's funny that the irony is we essentially have that same system now, but it's not on disc. It's like the idea of having DLC ready before the game even launches, like that's standard now.
Standard practice.
Yeah, announcing a season pass, announcing characters that are coming down the road. Like you need, like a successful fighting game now needs to have a content roadmap before the game even launches to let people know that, hey, this game is going to continue to get support throughout its life. But back then with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, granted, they shouldn't have had the characters on the disc. I mean, that they shouldn't have done that, but
yeah.
The idea that, you know, characters were ready before the game even launched, like that's honestly something that's not even new now. Like plenty of companies do that now. It's not even just a fighting game thing. Plenty of just
the
games
fans
of all
would
genres.
defend the practice now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's where we're at. They'd be like, well, I mean, what you want them to do? Wait till the game come out and then start development on the characters? It'd be 6-8 months before we got a character. Like the fans would defend the practice now as opposed to what happened back then.
Yeah, so I mean, it's practically become an industry standard. But all that aside, the vanilla version of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, it was pretty rough. Like the way you could abuse certain gems, like the block gem online, and auto blocking, automatic combos. It was just a lot of stuff that was easily abusable.
Time overs.
The time overs, yeah, like you're in block stun forever with the jab stuff. It was a lot that they did eventually fix with, I think, the 2013 version, but by then a lot of people had moved on just because they were so burnt out from the vanilla version of the game. And it's just this big disappointment because as a lot of us know, Street Fighter Cross Tekken was going to lead into Tekken Cross Street Fighter, pretty much the 3D version of the same thing. And like Sage hinted earlier, we essentially did get that with Akuma in Tekken 7. I mean, heck, Akuma, Geese. There's all sorts of there's all sorts of wacky 2D characters in Tekken, but it's just not the same. I mean, it would have been nice. I would love to go to like an alternate timeline and see where Tekken Cross Street Fighter actually got made and see how it turned out.
Akuma and Tekken is very clearly like a concession.
Yeah,
like look, we not gonna make that game. That's done. And we would quite frankly like everybody to shut up about it. And so like here's Akuma in Tekken, and now we're moving on Tekken 8. Like, and by now I would hope everybody knows like you're not getting Tekken Cross Street Fighter ever.
Yeah. No,
you
know,
know,
not getting
like
that. Yeah.
Once Tekken 8 is announced, you like, oh, okay, like I got
it. What's up?
Yeah, and a lot of Tekken players don't want Akuma back. They don't want Akuma or Geese back because those characters like break the rules of Tekken. Yeah,
they do.
They totally break the rules. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say one cool thing about it though. I will say is as a result of that, maybe down the road one day Bandai Namco could make another game. I don't know if it'll be a concession game or like their own IP that uses like meter systems and stuff like that because they've had experience with that now with multiple characters and they need to rebalance it. But you could make a new IP with a meter system and kind of more crazy energy effects. They're already doing it with Tekken 8 a little bit.
Yeah,
like
I mean, the heat system is definitely
heat system. Yeah. So I could see that down the road. So there are some benefits to it. And I also got to say, I adored playing Street Fighter X Tekken. I played that shit so much. I remember practicing it was so much fun. Me and Mario used to play against each other all the time. We would practice every DLC character when they came out, just go against each other. I fondly remember playing that game. I knew how bad it was. I remember the gym system was trash. The online wasn't that great, but nobody's online was that great back then. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I have fond memories of that game. So I'm glad you brought that up on your list at least.
Yeah,
man.
it's just one of those unfortunate cases where that further led to the decline of Capcom fighters, and I mean, yeah, it was. Yeah, shit. I mean, you had Street Fighter V and Marvel Infinite that were bad. It wasn't really until now, with hopefully how Street Fighter 6 will come out, because it's looking like it's going to be an amazing game. Hopefully that'll be the game that'll set things back on track. But yeah, Street Fighter Cross Tekken was essentially the game that like started the decline of Capcom fighters, and they hadn't really recovered since. Because I mean, Street Fighter 6 hasn't come out yet, so we'll see how that does. But yeah, that was definitely a big disappointment for me.
Lil Wayne about to save Street Fighter, bro. What y'all mean?
Save it on 420. Let's go,
baby.
Rakeem, what's up, man? Let me get the next one off your list.
All right, so the next one's one I brought up probably before to you guys. You guys definitely know about this one. I've had issues with, but I'm gonna break this one up now because there's another game that pissed me off way worse than this. And this game, from a technical standpoint, is fine. And that game is Final Fantasy 13. I want to start with some pros for Final Fantasy 13. Really good graphics,
definitely
great music. But that's after that, I still kind of get to my issues. First issue with the game was that when it first opens, it kind of gives you a lot of terminology and a lot of new things that getting into the world is hard at first. Because like you're trying to understand what's going on with the l'Cie and the Foul Sea and what the purpose is, and people transforming into monsters and saving people, and it feels like it's information overload from the beginning. And let's be honest, Final Fantasy, to a degree, a lot of the games have issues where the story gets a little convoluted and a little confusing. But usually how that goes is you're almost done with the game when it gets to the convoluted part. Not at the very beginning. They kind of ease you in, and then they get to the bullshit. You know what I mean? Final Fantasy fans know exactly what I mean. Like, you start off with like, man, Cloud's a soldier. Now, Sephiroth is technically a clone. His body's in this location over here, and you know, Cloud's memory is not real. He's the bullshit. You get what I'm saying? So like, I feel like 13 started off. Yeah, 13 felt like it kind of started off with just a little bit too much information. And it kind of made me not as motivated to get with the characters in the very beginning. And then other issues I ran into, I could not connect with a lot of the characters. There were a couple characters I connected with, but it felt like the characters had this weird sense of being either annoyingly naive or annoyingly pretentious or negative. And it's just like there wasn't a good in between. Maybe Saj was kind of in the middle there. Everybody was kind of on these fringes, and I just did not connect with them. Yeah, like
you talking about like the help of Vanille? I already know.
Like it's just like I just could not connect with them, and when you can't connect with a lot of the cast, you just kind of like you don't want to ever get to a place you're playing a game. It's like, why is this person here? I don't want to see this mother. Now with my main cast, you know. Maybe one character, maybe one, and I just never played them or something like that. But it felt like a good portion of the cast had issues with. Another thing was like there just wasn't a lot of interesting thing going on with the levels. I played about 20 and 25 hours before I called it quits on Final Fantasy 13. And everything was just kind of like straightforward, get to the boss fight, straightforward, get to the boss fight. It definitely was trying to, the narrative was supposed to be the real hook to carry you through the game, it felt like. But since I didn't connect with the characters as much, the narrative wasn't as strong for me. So going through the levels without connecting to the characters felt like a chore. You know, if you're immersed in a world, you kind of can overlook some of the negatives because you just really fuck with that world. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in it. You're like, man, I can't wait to get to the next challenge. But like, I couldn't get it fully immersed in Final Fantasy 13 because I saw these kind of flaws. I'm one of the few people, like, I saw people have issues with the combat. I didn't hate Final Fantasy 13's combat. There were parts of it I kind of enjoyed. The role change at different moments and like timing it. That was one of the most unique battle systems I had ever played. A lot of the bosses were very, very challenging. And I'll be honest, at that point when I was playing RPGs, I was looking for bosses that gave me a challenge. Now, I will say that bull crap where you got to a certain point in the boss fight, you got automatic doom, they keep that somewhere. I didn't like that at all. I don't know why they did. And he fights from his
those
dude.
are those were the Idolan fights. I know about those. Yeah, he's talking about those. Idolan fights is easily. Oh, you have to fight the summon to gain the summon.
Right.
But somewhere along the line in that fight, it's gonna hit you with doom. And usually, a lot of times, it's at the beginning of the fight. So you have this looming counter above that character's head because that character that's fighting this Idolan is the one that's getting it. So you have to finish this fight.
Eidolon?
Yeah. Eidolon, Idolan, you know what I mean.
Okay, I was like, what's happening?
Summons.
Yeah.
Summons, brother. Summons.
I got what you're saying.
What was that like?
Yeah, with
Final
them and then
Fantasy 12 when they
Barthandler.
started calling them that.
Yeah.
I think
they
so.
called him that
What was
before
it?
in one game.
Was it
But
before?
I know 12 did one.
What they call him in 6?
I don't remember actually. I don't know. That was
forgot
just a
they were
side
calling
thing.
it 6.
I was just thinking it was
Yeah.
like I remember
When it
12
Esper?
being the one.
When it Esper?
Oh wait,
Yeah, it was Espers.
actually
Yeah,
you're right.
you're
12
right.
they called them
Yeah.
Espers.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
12
Yeah,
was
you're right.
Eidolon.
You're right.
Eidolon
No,
was
6
12.
was Espers, 12 was
Yeah, 6
Eidolon.
was Espers. Yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah, 12 was
Oh,
Eidolon.
okay, huh?
Yeah, 12 was definitely Eidolon.
Oh, maybe it was.
Yeah, 6 was definitely Espers.
Okay.
Anyway, that was my main gripes. And then like I remember the game took a while to open up. When it finally opened up, I started getting some enjoyment out of it. I felt like, okay, this is finally becoming pretty decent, especially when we got to the hunt system. Finally got to the hunts and stuff. But by then, I remember this vividly. Hold on, Dev. I remember this vividly. The problem I ran into was that I had just burned out. I remember like turning my system on one day. I picked up the disc and I sighed and I was like, do I really want to play this? And that was where I stopped. I was like, no, I can't do this. I just can't. I can't. I remember also my cousin at the time, one of my close cousins, he loved the game. Everything. Nothing was wrong with it. He was, I can't wait to play it. I was like, you can have it. It's all yours, dog. You enjoy this way more than me. But yeah, that's kind of some of the issues I ran into. And then being a hardcore Final Fantasy fan, like basically they couldn't mess with me when I was young. Like every game I played, even 8, I liked. You know, like 8, 9, 10. I played 12 after that, I think. I played 12 way later. But yeah, 8, 9, 10, even 12, most of it I played, liked it, enjoyed it. 13, I just could not connect with the characters. I could not get immersed in the world, and I just did not quite enjoy it. And it was one of the few games I just couldn't finish. It's not one of the few games I couldn't finish. I couldn't finish it. So yeah, that was my main gripes. What's up, Mr. Butts?
So I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying anyway, but when you mentioned the hunts, that's just kind of sparked a fire in me. So FF13 is, I'm gonna just say this quick. It was close on being on my list. It's not on my list because I have a love-hate relationship with the game. I did enjoy it. I played and I beat it. But the fact that I went through it and played it and beat it, I was like, you know what? It kept my interest enough. Not like Star Ocean, where I played it for 20 minutes and was like, yep, back in the case you go. That is there is a part of the game that is mandatory. Like Rakeem mentioned the hunt system. You have to beat this hunt to continue the story. If you don't beat this hunt, you're not beating the game. There's this stupid hunt where you have to fight this robot that summons like these little stupid other robots. And it gives them like all these little status buffs. But this thing has like the most obscure, weird weakness in the game. It's something new. I'm like, they don't even really tell you, like, I'm throwing water, fire. I'm the avatar that like everything in him. And he's just like, nope, I ain't going. You got the Shannon Sharp. Nope. Can't kill me. I'm like, why would you make a hunt? Why would you make this mandatory? Like, it ain't like they made him a hunt mandatory to continue the story. That was one of my problems. The other big issue, the Phoenix Downs. I said, boy, if this ain't something, whoever you had as the party that you were controlling, they died, game over.
Yep.
The Shin Megami Tensei way. Will knows what I'm talking about.
I know exactly about that.
Who it was. So I'm like, so you mean I just bought 99 Phoenix Downs? Everybody got at least 10. I go down, you like, hey man, please help me. Nope. The person's controlling you. I'm not giving you nothing. Bro, what the? And it's like, it made no sense because like Rakeem talked about story, everybody had this, they wanted like the same journey. It wasn't like somebody in the party was, oh, he's the chosen one. He died, man. It's over. It's wraps. everybody had the same thing going on. So why would y'all make it to where if the person you're controlling specifically dies, game over? I was like, really? And then the Doom thing. That Doom thing was annoying. It's like, are you taking a little too long there, partner? Doom's like in the summons. As soon as it starts, Doom. It's like, what, bro? Can I enjoy the fight? No, beat me right now.
No, it's not pulse pounding. It's a pulse pounding race to beat the clock, and you gotta barely get that meter to touch square before it be like, yeah, now you finally get the summon.
So I just want to piggyback on King, because like I said, this was almost made my list, but the fact that I actually went through it and beat it, I did get some enjoyment out of it. Of course, the game looked great, but it was just a few things in there they changed. I'm like, who was making decisions? Like King said, the linearness. No, like the stores with the save points. You can't.
I didn't like that at all.
You can't go to an actual place. I'm buying everything in the store. Like,
yeah, they stripped all the soul out of the game with that.
And I was just like, and then Bartholomew, like the main boss, he was harder like throughout the rest all of the game. His last form was like stupid easy. Except for like this insta kill head. I'm like,
his
all right.
Bartendler's first form was some of the most bullshit I've ever had dealt with in that game. I kid you not.
God.
Like the first time I ever dealt with Bartendler, I spent at least 3 hours on him trying to fight and finish him off. So I ended up having to come back to him later after doing some grinding in the area before him, because they put you in an area where there's a bunch of platforms and enemies. Once you take them out, I leveled up, and once I finally got good enough and I figured out a team that worked, I beat him. Like that was one of those like down points for me with the game. Like I like Final Fantasy 13 from like a technical standpoint, a gameplay standpoint, and the story definitely is a little out there. I will admit that. That's definitely something against it. But
yeah,
some of them boss fights definitely did try to like put you in the Scorpion Deathlock. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I was about to say with the pretty much the exact same way with the Barthendler's boss fight, which you will. Like it took forever to beat him.
I know that I played this game for a long time, but I don't remember any of it. I just remember not liking the world.
But I beat it twice.
I don't remember not liking the world, the characters. I think Zaz was cool. I think I put 20 hours into it, but I'm like
about 20, 25, almost 30.
I think I quit not too long before Rakeem quit. We played it. I was like, "Yep," and we was both just like, okay.
My first playthrough was over 100 hours. My second one was like 50.
Damn. You know what to do then.
Yeah, I know what to do then at that point.
That's usually I
I know what to do, but it's still an all right game. It just ain't up there with the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Devin, what's the next game on your list, bro?
Well. As I was thinking about my list, I was like, I know some games that I was just like, I could have went outside and punched a hole in a tree for playing this, and it was just disappointing. I recollected on a time when I had my PlayStation 3 system in my house, and this was the time when rental stores were a thing. If you all are ancient as I am, you remember Movie Gallery, Blockbuster,
Hollywood Video,
giving around like $8 to $10 to get you a game for about the weekend, or maybe a week sometimes, right? So I'm an avid fan of Sonic. I love Sonic, but apparently he don't love me. So that's one thing.
You don't love a lot of people.
So I've always liked Sonic over Mario. Back on the Sega in the olden days, I was like, man, he go fast. It's like gotta go fast. I'm like, I'm going fast, man. Cool music. Got Knuckles. Well, I like you, Mario, but he just got that swag, man. Sega Dreamcast come out, Sonic Adventure 1. Man, blow me. I played, man. I got the game, but didn't have a memory card. I literally replay the game like every day. That's just how much I love that game. Played the demo, so I think I've already told this on here before, but I played the demo so much I thought the Sega headquarters had like some camera watching me as a child play. Like, this kid really likes Sonic. We're gonna send him a full copy of the game. I was young. Sonic Adventure 2, it had some things about it, but another pretty solid game. Then the PS3 comes around, there's a Game Informer. They show Sonic on the cover. I'm like, Sonic coming next year? PS3? Oh, snap. Skipping over head to set. I know my boy Terrence can attest to this might be on his list, Shadow Hedgehog, but skipping over.
Oh, Shadow. Oh.
Skipping over there. PS3. enter Sonic 06.
Oh,
When I tell you, boy, I could have cried. I could have cried, man. This was one of the most disappointing games I ever played in my entire life. Because I was like, I'm finna get Sonic Adventure 3. And they was like, no, you ain't. You finna get a trash game. The only redeemable parts is playing with Sonic. You got 5 other characters, and they all trash. And it's crazy, all of them except Sonic. He was the only redeemable thing about that game. And even his was kind of janky. I just don't know what to say, man. They had, by this time, they had Shadow out here thugging it up. He was shooting and driving cars like this and spraying Uzis and stuff. So they basically just, the fun you had with Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2, they stripped all that away. He's driving now. He's driving little Jeeps and he's doing all this. Like, what? Who asked for this? First of all, that's what Tails supposed to be doing. What's Tails doing in this game? Not in no vehicles and no robots. He's throwing bombs disguised as rings. Like, what? Who? What is this? We got Knuckles out here slow as molasses. I'm looking for the chaos symbols. I'm really slow though. I used to be faster in the old games, so I don't know what happened. I guess this new technology is weighing me down. Rose, she the same. Like, I'm just like, bro, this is horrible. I think I beat it. I can't know. It's a blur. I don't know if I beat it or not. I might have. I saw some boss I beat. I hit him in the mouth and it was game over. Something like that. Sonic out here trying to, rears up this woman or whatever. Hey girl, you look good over there. I'm funny. It's just the world. Oh, and don't let me forget. They brought introduced Trunks. They brought Trunks into the series.
Mr. Silver?
Yeah, Silver from the future out here. You
don't like Silver?
It's no use.
He was cool, but it's like he was in such a trash game. It kind of just
that's fair.
Just makes it. They had Cream the Rabbit. I don't think she was introducing this game.
I don't even like that name.
She wasn't even.
She was introducing the advanced games, I think.
Sonic Advance.
She was. Yep.
And I was just like, no, Blaze the Cat is who I'm thinking about. Blaze the Cat, I think, was introduced in Sonic 06.
She was introduced in Rush.
Okay.
Yeah, she was introduced in the DS. Yeah, the DS games, the Rush games. Yeah.
I think it was Blaze the Cat that was in this game. One of them. But I'm talking about, and I still have just hurt from this because it seemed like I'll never get Sonic Adventure 3. I've waited for years and just like, I guess I just won't get it. I guess the closest thing at this point is Sonic Frontiers, which I've heard is pretty decent. It looks like a solid enough game.
It's a solid game. It has its flaws, but it's the most solid Sonic game probably since Generations, excluding like the 2D like Mania and yeah.
If I see another 2D Sonic game, I'm going to come to somebody's headquarters and talk to them. Stop. I get it. It was cool, but y'all it's like sometimes you add new levels, it's the same the little potbelly Sonic. Stop doing it. I don't want to play Sonic 93 for the third time. Sonic, I want to play something new. Right? I mean, even Generations, okay, it was like new and just like, okay, I can play like little potbelly Sonic game, modern Sonic. Okay, that's cool. Stop with now. Don't get me wrong. Sonic Mania got one of the best soundtracks I ever heard in my entire life. So on that part, that's like that's music. I don't know who they got in there. But yeah, Sonic 06, man. I just.
Sonic has had a tough road, bro.
He has.
He finally coming back. Like slowly, you see him like he finally getting his prominence back. The Sonic movies, people like those quite a bit. Sonic Frontiers, that sold amazingly, and people seem to like it decently enough. So he making a comeback.
I hope so. And I just,
it was rough.
I hope so, man. Because now that I think about it, if you all recall how Sonic looked in the movie, the first original Sonic, his design, that's basically the physical embodiment of Sonic 06. Like that's the physical manifestation of Sonic 06. How he looked all just like, what are you? Like, what you look like? You blue and you a creature, but I don't know if you Sonic though. So, yeah, Sonic 06, my second one, man. Wish I'd have never played that game.
This man really hurt.
That man hurt.
All right, look, man. All you fucking old people with your old ass games. I'm gonna try to do something a little newer. This one hits me pretty close to my heart, and this is probably not on Rakeem's list, but he has played it, and I know that he didn't like it very much either. But I loved Assassin's Creed Origins, and I really loved Odyssey so much. Odyssey, low key, might be my favorite game on the PS4. I'm not sure. It's definitely top 3. Greece was just such a beautiful country to explore, and there was always, as I played it, there was always some weird or cool story I was doing, like the woman who was upset, like the old woman, she was upset her husband couldn't get it up, so she had you whip up a get right potion, you know, something that handles so he can handle stuff in the bedroom, and then when you come back, he like, look, I can't do it. I'm old. Like I'm sorry. And so you just take over and you wind up hitting it for like a day and a half straight or whatever. And I was like, all right, yeah, the sun go down, the moon come up, and the sun come back up. And you like, all right, okay. Or the one where you had to save this dude who thought he was insane. He put himself in a cage and he was like, I'm trying to avoid this prophecy. And you wind up being the fulfiller of the prophecy. And you wind up basically, if you fall for it, you wind up banging his dad and killing his mom. It was a lot of wild. Or like
Rex.
You say what?
Oedipus Rex.
I know, right?
What game we talking about?
Reverse?
This is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, bro. What you mean?
You out here running cheeks? That's crazy.
I definitely like. I remember it was so wild because like, I played Cassandra, but the way I played her was I was like, all right, look, every romance, like I don't know when I thought of this, but I was like, every romanceable character, I'm gonna just romance them. If I can bang them, I'm gonna bang them. It don't make no difference what the gender is. I don't care. I'm gonna just everybody, whoever it is. And so like I ran into like on that particular quest, I ran into like this blacksmith, and he asked me to do some shit, and I was like, and like they're like the romance option popped up, and I was like, yeah,
ain't no way.
And I was like, I don't feel like doing the go out into the city, go out to the countryside and slay 5 wolves or whatever. If I can just like fuck this guy and you know get whatever I want, let's just do that. And so I did it, and then I think I still wound up having to go out to the wild. I was so upset. I'm like, what the fuck did I do that for? That shit. And then later on, I ran into his mom. The dude's mom turned out to be a pirate, so I killed his mom. And he was like, You fucked my father and killed my mother. It was a great line. I was like laughing. I was in tears the whole day. And then like it wasn't just the weird shit. It was the awesome fights. Like you got to fight the Minotaur and the Medusa and like explore like a maze. It was so much. It was top tier. Like I don't care who hates Ubisoft. Like that's cool. You hate them, but that game's top tier. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that shit was ass. I'm sorry. I don't care what that shit was ass. Odyssey felt like an improvement on Origins, but Valhalla looked like they hadn't even looked at Odyssey at all. Like I like what they was trying. Like I could tell they was trying to do some shit with Valhalla, but they failed. All of it failed. Like I love the idea of building a community, making like a city of your own, getting missions for people within that community. But like that dreary ass England they had, that shit was not it. Like they took them vibrant ass colors in Greece and replaced them with some drab brown and the dullest green possible. The combat, it wasn't as cool. The upgrade system was just complex for no reason. Like you get these points and put them in the stat boost. They're just like, this is gonna give you a plus 0.0025% to your stamina, and this right here gonna give you plus 0.0017 to your attack. Like, man, shut up and give me some real upgrades, bro. Like, this is a waste of time. The characters wasn't really all that likable. They was kind of bland. I'm like, man, there's nothing here. And then like I don't bring up faith often, but like low key, like, okay, I'm still Christian, and I felt uncomfortable raiding churches and burning them down. I'm sorry. Like, weird. It just felt weird. Like, weird. I let a lot of stuff go. You know, every JRPG you wind up killing God. It's all good. But like, bro, I was burning down literal churches. It just felt odd. And then like the thing that kind of just crossed the line was like at one point in the game, you work with like another Viking, and the Viking just like, he got this like, I don't know, he just upset. He got this anime rivalry with like this dude in another character in the game. And finally, like he kind of beat him on some cheating type shit. He beat him. And so I'm like, okay, well, cool. You beat him. You killed him. Let's move on. He was like, nah, I got something for this guy. I'm like, what the fuck you got for this guy? And he wound up torturing the dude for like hours. And like you just sitting there as the protagonist, like it ain't nothing you can do. You just gotta listen to this dude scream and holler, and like his guts getting ripped out, and you just like, you know.
Oh, so it is why I thought he hit him with the blood eagle.
Yeah, he hit him with the blood eagle.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, blood eagle. Yeah.
And you just sitting there, just like doing nothing. I'm like, yo, can I step in? Like this is it was uncomfortably long. Like in game, it was clear that it took hours, but for you, it was still like several minutes of just this dude getting his guts ripped out. And I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. Can I like do something about it? I understand, like, technically they the Vikings and they the villains, but like, yo, man, let me do something. This is some nonsense. And no, you can't do anything. And by the time you can do something, like once the dude is finally done, he like, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. You know, I honored myself. He was like, and now you next. I'm like, me next what? And so he tried to square it with me. So I immediately was like, bet. But I was pissed because I'm like, I could have been killed this dude. Like he was clearly trash when I met him. He was torturing somebody when I met him. And then now, like right before he tried to fight me, which is always a mistake, you trying to fight the protagonist. Like now before he tried to fight me, now you want to torture somebody else. I'm like, this dude sucked. I could have been killed him. The only redeeming part of that scene is like after you beat him, he like, yeah, assassin, give me my sword so I can go to Valhalla and pit. And I'll kick that. So I was like, fuck you, fuck your Valhalla. You ain't going nowhere. You going to wherever the fuck you go when you don't go to Valhalla. You going to Valhalla for bitch niggas. That's where you going. Fuck that shit. I was so heated. I was like, man, this shit try. And like the second I finished that scene, I like cut. I was like streaming at the time, and I was like deeply annoyed and just pissed. And I cut that game off. I never cut it back on again. And the most annoying thing about it is that was the game. Like because Odyssey was so fucking successful, they was like, oh, well, if Odyssey was successful, wait till y'all see this. And they had like 3 years of DLC for that bitch. I think they was still releasing DLC late last year. They was still like, oh yeah, we got some more content. I'm like, fuck that. Like put some content on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I mean on Odyssey, the good game, not this Valhalla shit. Like, oh my god,
for Odyssey too.
They did have hella, but they had way more for Valhalla.
Oh yeah,
like they went on and on. Like you went to like I think 2 or 3 realms in the game. And I think they added another 4 or 5 realms from like the Norse realms and shit. They just kept adding them. They was like, oh yeah, you're going to do this. And then you're going to do this. And then the protagonist, he got to go here, or they got to go over here to America because the corpse was found in America. I'm like, that don't even make sense, but whatever. Like it just dragged on forever.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, man. I was just so frustrated with that game. And like that, I was really hyped about the Assassin's Creed franchise taking that like low rent Witcher type vibe. I was like, okay, you know, I mean, like, I can't get a Witcher every year, but I might be able to get a cool, like a decent Assassin's Creed every other year. I'll take that. And then like Valhalla showed me like, no. Just because we did 2 of them good, don't mean we're gonna do all of them good. So you know, whatever. It's an L I took. Will, what's up, man? You rounding out round 2 for us. What you got?
All right. So, Keen brought up something Square related. I'm gonna bring up something Square related.
Bring it up, bro.
The picture 2018, and they announced to us that we was finally getting in the States a new Dissidia.
Oh yeah. No!
Dissidia Final Fantasy NT came to your console in 2018. Made and developed by Team Ninja.
Oh man.
And you would think, oh, this is Team Ninja? The same folks who did Ninja Gaiden and all this, the game gonna look good, it probably gonna play good. Well, they got the look good part right. It semi did the playing good part right. And let's just say that I really hated that because me and my college roommate at the time, I was still in college at that time, y'all. Goodness gracious. It was in the dorm room. Me and him both big Final Fantasy fans. We was like, we gonna play this. We gonna play Dissidia. And we was really enjoying the game. But over time, we just started noticing bits and pieces of this game just were not up to snuff. From its little story mode, that online play was the biggest issue because if you so much as went online with this game, you would find a room full of people to play with it. it was not a problem to find people. The problem was the net play and the infrastructure itself was straight up dumpster juice. And I can't understand how you put this out, and then the only way you supported said game was to continue to give us characters and weapons, not any fixes to this game to make it better than what it was out the box. Like, I had my heart set on it, and he did too, and we played it for a good while till we were just like, you know what? We can't do it. But for some reason, Square and Team Ninja thought they could keep doing it, so they decided, hey, we got a free edition. You can play this and you don't have to buy it. You don't get the story, but you get 4 characters every week and they rotate. I'm like, no one's going to download this for free to play them 4 characters for a week and then you rotate out the next 4. No one's going to do this for y'all. And I don't know why y'all still thought, oh, we can do this. Oh, if someone disconnects, oh, well, it'll be a 3v2 or this, and that. I'm just like, what is wrong with y'all? And I still have my copy of the game. That game hasn't been open in years. I just let it sit there because I'm just like, you had something. You had something right in the palm of your hand that could have easily flew off the shelves, but y'all ruined it by not supporting the game content-wise, not fixing it technically, and just blowing it up. I'm just like, how you fuck up Dissidia? Them games on the PSP were amazing, and then y'all come over here with this and give us basically just the arcade game and say, have fun.
Have fun. Like,
I tried for like a solid 2 months, and then after that, I couldn't do it no more.
what's up, Rakeem?
I gotta talk about this too. I'm right with you, Will. In fact, Will, if you remember, I visited you in college one day and you were playing.
Oh,
when
yeah.
I came and visit you.
Yeah, you did.
I played this game as well for a while.
Mhm.
And when I tell you, I came in later on it. I started playing maybe a year or so out later when the DLC characters started coming through. When I tell you, I tried my best to like this game, but that online was horrible. And I still played it because I like Final Fantasy that much. But when I got the game, I started getting my DLC characters. Like, it felt like right after I bought the season pass, like the next day or so, they announced that they were shutting the game down.
Mhm.
The anger
That too.
in me that day. Woo! You talking about punching the air? I was punching it. I admit it. I was hitting 3-hit, 4-hit, 5-hit combo. I was hitting Tekken 10 strings in the air. I was looking impressive. Like Jean-Claude Van Damme in the air. Adonis Creed, Rocky Balboa in there, boy. I was hitting combinations. I was so bad when that happened, bro. Yeah, that game is a big disappointment. At this point, the IP is pretty much buried. They may salvage it in some kind of other way later, but right now it's upsetting because I really enjoy the PSP games too. Dissidia is one of my favorite PSP games ever. I played the crap out of it. I have fond memories of that in college. I think it was the first PSP game I ever bought. So I had a really good time with the old Dissidia games. I hate they went the arcade route, only online route. Well, I mean, you had to play online. It's not really a game you really can play locally. It's kind of but just a lot of disappointment there. So I'm right with you there, Will.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
Well, I tell you what, you might as well just go ahead and keep on talking for the final round. What's your last game, Theme?
Yes, sir. So I say FF13 for last round because I didn't like FF13, but technically there's nothing wrong with FF13. It's beautiful, has good music, didn't have any issues, no bugs, nothing. This game I'm about to announce, it's got all of that. You finna get this. That goddamn Outriders.
Let's go.
He
Let's
went.
go, man. When I tell you I fell for the marketing, I fell hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, it's gritty, looter shooter, man. It's not gonna be a live service. It's gonna have full content. I was watching every trailer. They got me, man. I was like, yeah, good content. Looter shooter. You're gonna play right. The characters look cool. The skills look cool. Y'all got elements and low skill trees and cool legendaries. I believe in you. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry to my old self. I apologize. What I tell you, Outriders was trash. Trash.
Also,
Trash.
I told you, King.
Trash. Devin, you right. Trash. I played this with my friends, and I thought it'd be okay. I was like, this seems okay. A little generic somewhat with the story, but I thought the gunplay and the like. For people who don't play a lot of live service games, these RPG light games, where they shine at is that they kind of remember the origins of like Diablo, where they do a good combination of build diversity, where you create your build with your character, and then you can kind of stack abilities on top of each other and like do cool stuff as a result. And Outriders was kind of like that too. You had certain gear abilities and things that come on top of that. And you have fun with the abilities and combine the gear, and you level up and you grind. So the issue I had was Outriders seemed to have that foundation, but it was so goddamn buggy on release. It was damn near unplayable. I'm playing with my friends online like a good warm-blooded American on a Saturday evening. You know what I'm saying? Just having a good time online. I'm about to try this Outriders game. Have you ever had a game crash on you 5 times at 1 hour?
Oh, no.
If you haven't, play Outriders. Have you ever had a game that crashed on you in the middle of a boss fight and you had to start the whole thing over? If you haven't, play Outriders. Have you ever had a game where it felt like everything was so grounded and generic that and blended together with the environment that it kind of made everything uninteresting to look at? If you haven't, play Outriders. That combination of like that there was just not enough meat to the world. There was some cool ideas there because it kind of like this X-Men thing where people kind of grew powers as they got on this foreign planet that they were terraforming. That was kind of cool, but the story itself, the issues I had with those bugs, though, that was the main outlier. I've never had so many crashes on a console game in my motherfucking life. I disconnected so much. It was between this and Avengers. I was going to say Avengers, but I enjoyed the story of Avengers way more than Outriders. Avengers to me still has a great story. I really enjoy the story for Avengers. But this game don't hold up. It just doesn't do enough really, really well. I think kind of runs into that problem Anthem had where like there are parts of this game that are okay. But as a whole, it does not do enough to measure up to other titans of the genre. There's no reason to play this over Destiny. There's no reason to play this over The Division. They do what this game's trying to do better and without the game crashing 100 times. It's probably better now, but I still don't feel like it had enough meat to it or interesting ideas to it to warrant an investment. And that was the biggest disappointment because I felt like I wanted something in the vein of The Division because I started playing Division 2 a few years ago. But I like the wackiness of abilities and powers and stuff like that. And to me, with my friend group, my online friend group, I value my time with them playing online games that we connect on. So that was the type of game I bought specifically to play with my best friend because he loves games like that. And I was like, this could be a great experience for us. I think he enjoyed it, but I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. And I don't care. I bought it for both of us to play, but I gotta enjoy it too. Sorry. And frankly, that was the biggest disappointment. Buying something like that just did not measure up to what I wanted it to be. Just wasn't a great game overall. Crashed way too much, way too buggy, way too many issues. I can't have that. And honestly, us as gamers, that was my last straw. Devin, I called Devin on the phone, I think, one day as I played Outriders. I said, you were right. You called it. Devin called it months and months ahead of time. He said, I smell a trash can. I feel a trash can. It's looking like a trash can. Don't buy it. And I was like, no, man. That's a game I can get into, man.
I remember Rakeem was like, man, I don't know, man. It's looking cat. I said, Rakeem, please, I'm telling you, don't do it, man. As a great songwriter.
Same game where you can't jump.
You can't
jump.
The
jumping cutscene. Don't forget that, King.
I forgot about that. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever played a game where instead of jumping, they have a cutscene for you to cross a gap? No, not like a button prompt. Like you walk up there's a cutscene. The cutscene is to cross the gap. That is Outrider. If you want a game where you can't jump, they gotta make a specific cutscene. If you go from a gap from one gap to the next, play Outrider.
Yes. Not even like Zelda. You know, it was like you go to a ledge and he just out. No, I go to the ledge, cutscene, I jump back to the game.
Oh my god,
No.
that was
That was just silly as hell.
I already knew what Keem was gonna say, but that game was a high pile of garbage. And it's funny because in our friend group, when it came, I played a demo and I was dogging this game. I'm like, bro, please don't do it. Do it. Please.
yeah. Devin, he was right.
But
I
like,
was wrong.
like I was like Rakeem said though, that trailer that they showed, it even got me a little bit. That's why I played the demo. I was like, this look kind of cool. And it was really they were trying to do the Destiny thing, and they also they took Destiny and Gears of War and smashed them together.
Yeah.
They tried to make a little cover system. It was like the character models were kind of bulky like Gears of War, and then they had the abilities and stuff. The trailer was even kind of shot and angled like Destiny. I'm like, you ain't fooling me.
Well, it fooled me. And that's why I'm on this podcast talking about this trash game. So yeah, I can't recommend Outriders. I played a similar game. I forgot the name of this game.
You got to give me a hint.
It's the looter that was like all melee weapons. They had the shiny armor. Everybody had different armor. I was playing that.
Godfall.
Godfall.
Yeah,
I was playing that game, and it can't make this list because there was a period of time where I found myself having a lot of fun with the grind in that game. But Outriders, no, I just couldn't do it. Maybe the boss fights were okay. That was it for Outriders. But other than that, I just wasn't.
What you mean? Can you crash? You can't fight them. How you
go?
5 times in 1 hour. I just, boy.
I know you're tired.
All right, Devin.
It's
time. Go ahead, get it out.
Do what you must.
You've been waiting this whole podcast. Go ahead, get it out.
Well,
I wonder what this is.
If you lived here, you would know exactly. He keeps bringing his game up, so I know it's
pretty sure Terrence probably knows what this is. Well, there was a system, a handheld console. Well, I can't even talk right now. I'm so flustered by this game. It was a handheld called the Nintendo DS.
I know. Okay.
I got one, and that's like, it's a pretty cool system. I think my first game was like Mario Kart. Pretty solid Mario Kart on the Mario 64 DS. That was pretty dope. Castlevania Dinosaur, like one of my favorite games of all time. Like one of the best Castlevania games. Those Sorrow games, fire. Like on the same level as Symphony of the Night. So I was like, man, ain't really a lot of RPGs on this thing though, man. That's what I'm really wanting. I want to take my RPGs on the go, like back, Game Boy Advance. Where my Golden Suns at, man? Where my Final Fantasy IV Advance at? So finally see this one game. Now, mind you, I never played the Lunar series. I used to always see the Game Pro. Like, man, I really want to play this game, man. I was like this Final Fantasy, like almost exclusive at a point. I want to play some other RPGs. I said, this will be my first time. I'm gonna hop in the Lunar, man. Let's do it on the DS, man. Let's go, because the DS always had like the little gimmick of like the DS at the end of every game, like the 64, like Lunar Dragon Song DS, and DS stood for something, but it wasn't.
I never realized that until now. Wow.
Yeah. It didn't stand for dual screen. It stood for something. This still with DS. So I played it. I get it. I think I actually went to GameStop and got this like $30. Like, man, I got me an RPG on a DS, man. I can take this on the go. RPG on the go. Like, yeah, let's play this, man. Let's get into this. I'm like, okay, maybe let me give it some time. I mean, like the first hour in, I got to give it some time, man. This ain't it, man. I pick up my phone. I say hello. He's like, yeah, this Chief. He say, this ain't it. I said, you sure, Chief? I'm like, man, I thought this was it, man. Lunar Dragon Song is, without a shadow of a doubt, might be the worst game I played all the time, but 100% the worst RPG I played of all time. Like, bar none, Anybody that's played this game, I feel if you enjoy this, first we need to talk. That's one thing. We need to talk. If you enjoy this game, let's talk. I felt like I needed to take my DS and apologize to it for putting that piece of trash in it. Like, man, it might be infected with some malware or something. It might have pop-ups now or something. I done put this trash in my DS. It was, the graphics were like, we on a DS, but the visuals were trash. Like, it didn't even have like the same art style really that like Lunar was kind of known for. Like, I felt like just the character models were trash. The combat was garbage. You had like these little stupid fetch quests. The enemies were just trash. Like, I had a cousin. I let him borrow. I'm like, man, I can't really play this no more. You can play if you want to. He comes back. Man, this game great, man. I said, what? I said, did I put the right game in the box? Because I know it. I must put Castlevania in there. I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna get. No, he said, no, man. Look. I'm like, bro. He beat it and everything. I'm like, man, I don't know. So this is one thing. You could not select your attack targets in battle. That was just a passive in a battle. You could not select who you wanted to hit. So you're fighting a boss and he got some little 5 scrubs with him. Let's say the boss is on like 10 HP. Like, I want to hit the boss and get the full fight over with. Nope, you're going to hit one of these 5 little scrubs over here. You cannot select who you want to attack. All right, so I checked out Metacritic, and it has a 59 on there, and I'm not sure how it has that high of a score. It's neither here nor there. But there is one review on here that is the quintessential review. They gave it a 0, which is an adequate review score for this game. This person says, I think I finally found it. I think I finally found the worst JRPG of all time. That sentence is in all caps. And it says, so simply running on the overworld drains your HP, not your stamina or your energy, your freaking HP. So you're forced to walk slowly everywhere at a snail's pace. Simply blowing into the mic makes you run from battle. This game is portable, so naturally you'll be playing on the go. But what if you're playing somewhere loud, like on a bus or in a room with 2 other friends having a conversation? You'll auto run from a fight and miss out on experience. Third bullet, I fought several enemies and couldn't figure out why I'm not getting any XP. And I think I remember this as well. Turns out you have to be in a certain special mode by pressing the R button to get experience. There is 0 reason why we have to switch between 2 different modes for different battle results, but I guess Ubisoft was doing all the cocaine.
They published it.
You can't even choose which enemy to target, which I said earlier, for an attack. You can't choose who you want to attack. You attack and it just hits you at random.
Bro, how you do everything wrong?
All of it. Hitting all of shit right.
I don't know, man. They just went in off and just started pressing buttons on the keys, and the game that was finished. They was like, "This is what we got." And they ended this off by saying, "I stopped playing this trash before even reaching the second town." I did as well. Why did they intentionally cram as many unfun mechanics as they possibly could into this to make the game different from other RPGs? You can stand out without being garbage or that different, So that is an adequate end to my take for my worst disappointment of all time. This was trash. Just wish I could have gotten those like maybe 45 minutes, an hour back. I think I played it. Wish I could have gotten those back. I don't understand. I let a cousin borrow. He said it was dope. He finished it. I'm like, there's no way you played the same game I did. You must have like hit a certain button to like make the actual game. Version. Yeah, get the good version. Because they said they had different versions in battle. One where you don't get XP and one where you do get XP. So maybe there's like a different version. The game you press like hold A as you turn the DS on. Like, oh, this is the good game, and you don't hold anything. That's the bad game. So I don't know. Maybe he played the good version. And I played the bad version. But yeah, Lunar Dragon Song is trash. If you say the game is good, you have no taste in video games. That's a fact. You're not a gamer. I'm sorry. If you say that game was good, don't tell me no game suggestions. You out here playing Outriders. Outriders is the best game of all time. That's the type of person you are. If you said Lunar Dragon Song, you probably said Outrider was the best shooter of this past millennium. So yeah, Lunar Dragon Song, worst disappointing game of all time. And I'm gonna be quiet about it now.
That sounds like a usage when you talked about anime. If somebody recommended you a certain anime, it's like you done goofed up.
You done goofed up now.
Sometimes you get that wrong recommendation. You like, oh yeah, I know you don't know nothing about what you're talking about. Will, what's up, man? What's your third and last one for the night?
All right, man. So I ended up making a list of 5. I gave y'all 2 of them, and of the final 3, I've just kind of sat and I looked at them as y'all were kind of going through yours, and I'm like, which one of these games do I really just have some type of a gripe with? And I had to remember one game that I put on here. I remember it clear. I'm pretty sure you remember me probably playing this. It was a good while back in probably 2015. It was a Tales game. Tales
the OG one?
Tales of Hysteria.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if I'm gonna ruffle any feathers with that, but I remember getting that game because I'm like, hey, I played Tales of Graces. I've touched on other Tales games in my time, and they all were pretty solid. I like those games. So let's go ahead and hop into this one. Well, this being the time where certain games were still getting PS3 versions were a thing. So, Hysteria having a PS3 version, I feel like they kind of shot it in the foot in a way from a technical standpoint because I noticed it right away on the open field map. Those areas are very large and somewhat empty to an extent when you're traversing between towns. And if you have enemies on the map and you see them from a distance, you will see you know how stuff moves at 60 frames and stuff moves at a consistent 30. Well, if you see an enemy off in the distance, they finna be in that joint chopping away in the background. And I'm just sitting there like, why is he moving like that? He shouldn't be. This is the PS4 version. What did they sell me at the store? I don't know what's going on here. I'm confused. The dungeons are okay till monsters start dropping from the ceiling for some reason. And I'm just like, why are y'all dropping from the ceiling randomly? Maybe that was in a game that I didn't play, that I maybe skipped in the Tales chronology, but that was pissing me off more than anything. And mind you, I was playing this with one of my best friends at the time in Mississippi State. She loves the Tales series wholeheartedly. But she was like, even after sitting with me with this game, she was just like, I really can't get behind this game like that, Will. I don't like this one too well. And I knew that if she didn't, there's definitely a problem here. And there's also this other issue it has that I don't like. There is a character in this game. Her name is Alicia. You meet her early in the game. She's one of your party members. Everything's fine until he's like, because she's royalty, she has to go off and do something. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to be gone for a chunk of the game and I'm going to get you back later. They took her out of the game so hard that I didn't see her until almost the end of the game. I'm thinking like, oh, I meet her for a third. She misses maybe half of the next third and I get her back. No, she missed damn near almost the rest of the game. And I didn't get her to the end again. And she ended up getting they ended up giving her DLC that's post game stuff. And that became a problem from fans. Fans didn't like that because they were like, why would you announce this character to us, put her in the game for such a short amount of time, and take her out for such a long amount? And one of the producers was like, well, when we showed y'all these characters, they were just telling y'all in what order they was going to pop up, not their importance. Just because you seen her second doesn't mean she was that important. And I'm just like, wow. Okay. I guess you made us pay for a story or play a story at the end of DLC to understand where she was at and what she's doing and what she does after the fact. That didn't sit well with me. So yeah, I finished the game, no doubt about it. I think I ended up getting a bad ending the first time because I didn't know there was a bad ending until the ending started playing, and I was like, "Why is the game ending here? I got some more time. I paid whatever I paid for this. I'm gonna get the rest of it. So you're not gonna just drop off my team just dying right here in this cutscene." So went back, loaded it up, figured out what the problem was, finished the game. I like it, but it has its issues being one of those Tales games on the PS4 that still has a PS3 version out. It's a disappointment compared to the other Tales games that I have put my hands on. So for those of y'all that like it, hey, that's fine. Those of y'all that dislike it, come sit at the table with me because y'all kind of maybe understand me. So Tales of Hysteria is the one.
I feel like Tales is the best way to enjoy Tales of Hysteria is the anime. That was the first time I saw UFO Table really go off and see what they was capable of. That's when I knew they was gonna be the next ones up. And I mean, rightfully so, because I mean, you see what they're doing with Demon Slayer. But yeah, I can see what I mean. As far as I know, Hysteria is not one of the most popular Tales games. So you know. Terrence, what's up, bro?
All right, so this one's going to be a little different because it's technically a game that, I don't know why I said technically. It is a game that I haven't played, but it's a disappointment because of what it could have been. And that game is Forspoken. Man, look, we've talked about it before. Like, when Forspoken was announced, like, it's a game that I wanted to succeed because we've talked about this before. Like, we want black people belong in fantasy. It's like RPGs. The idea of a RPG made by Square, like pretty much the RPG maker company.
Yep.
And it had a black female lead and even more black characters in the game. That's a dream. Like, Forspoken was going to be that game. It was going to be him or her, whatever. I wanted it to be a great game so bad. And unfortunately, based on how it was released, that doesn't seem to be the case. And I hate that a game that I was so hopeful for and I was hyped up for turned out the way that it did. And there's so many contributing factors to it that it could be a whole subject in and of itself. But I'll just say that it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that because of its failure, we're probably not going to get another game quite like it again. If we do get another one, it's going to be a long time. I guarantee you Square is not going to take any more risks like that. And other RPG makers, they're like I'm talking AAA RPGs. I'm not talking like at the indie level where, you can take risk. At the AAA level, getting a game like Forspoken is extremely rare. And the fact that it actually happened, I was rooting for it. It's the Tyra Banks meme. We were rooting for you. And they screwed it up. I know that it's supposed to be getting a patch and some DLC that'll hopefully make the game better. And I still do want to buy it. I do want to support the game. And I want to play it for myself and see if it's as bad as what people make it out to be. Because I do feel like some of the hatred against it, I feel like it is a little blown out of proportion, if I'm being honest.
you know why?
Yeah, we all know why. Because if you compare
that game,
it to,
I think it got like a 60 something in the Metacritics, but even if it had gotten like a low 80s, it still would have gotten a lot of people like, this game's trash.
Yeah, despite it, they talk about the cringe dialogue, which there's some dialogue which is not that great. But if we're being honest, the whole idea of a very talkative MC and having like a partner with them and they both have banter and whatnot between them, that's nothing new. That happens in plenty of other video games and nobody talks about it. Nobody complains about it. But because Forspoken is, let's be honest, is the way that it is, they had a certain, they felt a certain way about it. And I know there's going to be somebody who comes in the comments saying, well, the race of the character shouldn't have mattered. I'll say this. Go watch our Black People Belong in Fantasy episode and then come back with a better opinion. I'll put it that way, or no opinion at all. Because if you still don't get it after watching that, then bye. I don't want to talk to you. But yeah, Forspoken, just a big disappointment because it's a game that type of game I have been wanting for so long, and the fact that it fell on its face essentially and cost Square a lot of money, we're not going to get another one like it, unfortunately. And that just sucks. That's probably, out of all these games, that's probably like the biggest letdown for me because I wanted it to succeed so badly. I was rooting so hard for it, but yeah, sometimes them's be the breaks.
We all wanted Forspoken to succeed, but let's be honest. None of us put any, when it came time to do the fantasy draft, nobody picked it.
Because at that time, we knew it wasn't looking.
We all
we knew it wasn't looking too hot.
Yeah.
Come on, man, all right, here we go. I remember when this game got announced at like an Xbox show in 2019. And I was like, oh, shit. This series finally got a budget. I picked it up. I picked it up at launch. I was hyped. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's get it. This is a bit of Sage gaming history, a bit of lore, as it were. Tales of Destiny on the PS1 was one of the first video games I ever got growing up. And it was like one of the first games I ever got excited to play. It took me 72 hours to beat it because I ain't know shit about RPGs at the time, and I was like 12 and I kept getting lost. But after that, I kind of missed a ton of Tales games. And I kept waiting for them to do Tales of Destiny 2, and they never did. So I came back to the franchise on the PS3 with Tales of Xillia. I bounced off it pretty quick. Then I tried Tales of Berseria, bounced off that too. And they always had this like cheap look to the graphics, like the grass would just look kind of painted onto some flat ass backgrounds. But I looked at Tales of Arise and I said, I bet this won't have flat, boring backgrounds. And I was right. The world was gorgeous. It didn't have them flat, boring backgrounds. Instead, it had a flat world and a flat story and no characters to anybody besides the protagonist and the enemies. That shit was ass. When I say I was like, I played that game. I played a lot of that game, and I was so disappointed. Like, I got about midway through, and I was like, man, this game just not hitting like that. And I mean, like, I get it. I get, like, the base concept of the world. Like, the world they set up was one where one alien race had come to this planet and enslaved another group for so long they had destroyed any semblance of culture. But like if they had done even an ounce of research, they'd know that's not how slavery works. Even if you destroy a group's whole culture, they'll create another form of culture. That's just how that works. But like Tales of Arise, they had nothing. And like they kept driving it home. And it's an interesting thought process, but like it don't make for an interesting game. Speaking of interesting, there was no interesting side quests. You just kind of ran from point A to point B, and they had like a few monster hunts in the background. I was like, all right, so what? I got about halfway through that game. I couldn't take it no more. I gave up. Like, I liked the protagonists. I thought they did a good job with most of them. I thought Shion and Alphen and all them characters, I kind of liked them. I thought they was cool. I like Shio Mami and all that. You know, they was cool. But like, no, I mean, like everything else was just so shit. Like the combat, it had that boring combat that a lot of action games love doing now, where the enemy got all the armor in the fucking world, and you can really only do damage once you stagger them, and then finally you can actually hit them for some real damage. I hated that shit. You was always broke. The economy of the game is fucked, and I would bet anything that they wanted you to buy that in-game currency with some real money, because they definitely sold it. When you got online, like when you got on
how
the
Bandai Namco is.
Exactly. Like when you get online, like your PS5 store, the PlayStation store, or like the Steam app or whatever, you can see like, oh, you buy 50,000 gold or gold in Tales. You can buy 50,000 gold, and you know it's like, man, fuck that shit. I'm not paying for no gold, bro. Like, give me some quests that I can actually do that pay real money. Well, not real, but like, you know, in-game money. Pay some real in-game money so I can do something. Like, this is ridiculous. Look, man, I don't let nobody lie to you. Like a ton of JRPGs came out and like that's why I really don't care. I could have picked Final Fantasy 13, but I had to pretend like I remembered that RPG. I could have picked Star Ocean 4. I had to pretend like I remembered them. I didn't. And I kind of wrote that whole generation off. Like for the most part, I thought those JRPGs for like the PS3, 7th gen, I thought most of those RPGs sucked anyway. So like whatever, like, but like last gen, no. A ton of JRPGs came out in last generation you could play, and it was all good. So many of those JRPGs was good. Dragon Quest XI was good. Monster Hunter Stories, well, that's kind of that was 3DS, but still, that was good.
Yeah.
Ni no Kuni 2, that was fire. It's so many fucking fire ass JRPGs from that area. Avoid this one. Like, if you can avoid one, make sure it's this one. Play Trails of, not Tales of. I don't care if it's Trails in the Sky, Trails of Zero, Trails of Cold Steel, whatever. Just skip this boring ass piece of shit game. Fuck. Like, I just can't believe that they made that game. Like, and you notice like a lot of Tales games, when they really hit, like Bandai Namco will make like a sequel or like a prequel or so. Like Tales of Zestiria and Tales of Berseria, they tied together. Tales of Xillia 1 and 2, they tied together. They ain't make no sequel to Arise. They just put out Arise, and it was like, all right, it's out. And then they moved on to Scarlet Vein and all them other games. They was like, we finna move on. Why we ain't got time for this? And they should have. They definitely should have. Like that, they knew what they made a mid-ass game, and it was like, all right, well, ain't no sense in trying to fix this mid. Like we do better on the next one. So.
Scarlet Nexus.
You know,
yeah.
We almost had 3 Tales games on here. Some 3 of the most disappointing. I almost picked Tales Symphonia 2 because that was some hot
Ooh,
dog
New
shit.
Dawn, yeah, that would have been a disappointing one.
Boy.
Yeah,
That's way worse than this than Arise.
I ain't gonna even lie, because Symphonia 1,
Garbage.
one of my favorite RPGs of all time.
Mm.
I was like, I want to play 2, and I wish I had it. Want to be one protagonist. I just want. We almost had 3 Tales games on the podcast.
Tales of Disappointment.
The only saving grace of, like, I think Tales of Arise, if you just one of those guys who just really love Tales combat. 'Cause I saw people online doing like combo montages, and we had a friend of ours, Dupree. He loved it because of the combat. Some people just play Tales for the combat, and that's it.
Yeah,
but I need more than that because I also played Tales of Arise. And I never finished it. I didn't hate it as much as Sage did, but I also didn't get as far as Sage did. So just to let you know something.
Yeah.
I played it till, and I didn't know that, like, this is how little I played Tales games in this era. I played it till like the opening changed. Yeah, the halfway point where the opening changes and it's like season 2 or whatever. I played it till then. I basically beat all 4 of the elemental gods that was ruler. I beat all of them. And of course, after that, you learn that it's more to, the war that they've had, or like not really war, but slavery. You learn that there's more to it than what you've been told. And they was like, yeah, that was the point where you're supposed to be like really hyped and like, oh, let's see what come next. And I was like, I don't really care. Like the sad thing was it was a good enough stopping point. Like, oh, okay, you beat everybody, you like king of the world or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm king. And then like they set up some stuff for like cliffhanger stuff that should make you want to finish the game. But I ain't care. I was like, I seen enough. We can wrap this shit on up. So speaking of wrap it up, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week's episode. If you like that, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor and hit that subscription button on YouTube. I need you to hit that notification bell so you know when we coming up on here. I need you to follow us on Twitter and TikTok. Don't just check us out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody. And do me a personal favor and have an excellent week. Peace.